Good afternoon, and welcome to the Music and Technology Seminar at Carnegie Mellon. Our guest today is Lucca Chesky, inventor and entrepreneur whose LC1 speakers have gotten outstanding reviews nationally and internationally. Lucca will take us through the beginning of his company, Chesky Audio, when he was in high school, to the present with the release of his LC2 speakers just a few weeks ago. Immediately following today's seminar, we will have the chance to hear the LC2 speakers here in the Vlahakis recording studio. So if you're already here, stay for a bit. And if you are anywhere on campus, come on over to check out these speakers. I think you will be impressed. So now please welcome Lucca Chesky to the Music and Technology Seminar.
Hello. All right. How's it going, everybody? First, I wanted to say thank you so much, Ricardo, for having me here. What an honor. And let's jump right into it. So let me share my screen. Um, Here we go. Oh, wait. Sorry, give me one moment. There we go. All right, can everybody see that?
Yeah, looks good.
Perfect. All right. So my name is Lucca Chesky, and this right here is the story of Chesky Audio. So I'm a freshman here at CMU under the School of Drama studying design and production with the hope to make a complete transfer to electrical and computer engineering in the fall of 26. Today I'm honored to join all of you and will share the story of my pursuit to give everyone high quality sound at an affordable price and the history of my loudspeaker company, how I went from having an idea to my own product for customers around the world. So this is just a table of contents for what we're going to be able to cover today. We're going to start with some of the background of my life with music, an introduction to hi-fi audio, the internship that started it all, from prototype to final product, the LC1 revolutionizing audio, excuse the typo, with 3D, the next step, the LC2 reference monitor, the intricacies of loudspeaker manufacturing, and what's next for Chesky Audio. So, as long as I could remember, I've always been surrounded by music. My dad is a pianist, my mother is a singer and an actress. I personally am a musician. I play piano, drums, and guitar um, for my entire life. And as I'm sure all of you know, as musicians or people heavily involved in music, it's pretty hard to live without it. Most importantly, this played a really crucial role in the development of my speakers. Knowing what real music sounds like. This to me had been the most important aspect of my speaker design. At the end of the day, disregarding all the graphs and numbers and being able to sit down um, and listen and say, does this sound real? Here is a brief introduction to hi-fi audio. Some of you guys might be unfamiliar with this term. So, hi-fi audio stands for high fidelity audio, and pretty much to sum up what that is, it means audio equipment that's going to deliver you a new ultra high level of consumer-based audio. Personally, I've been around high-end audio all of my life. Growing up, we had a pretty nice stereo system, and it was something that I was always extremely interested in. And I would always like to mess around with it, sit and listen to music on another level of resolution. And growing up with this, it really, really shaped my idea for that industry and what I strongly believe that it needs, which is youth and innovation. So, this is kind of what started everything off for me. So, the internship that started it all. At the end of my junior year in high school, I saw that Princeton University had a summer internship opening and was accepting applicants. Like most, I thought it could be a cool opportunity. So I had applied at the end of my junior year. I was unsure whether what the results would be, but I'd gotten an email saying that I was selected along with four other students. Um, for what was called the Learning Lab program, which pretty much just was a 5 to 7 week program. And you would come to the university, you'd stay there, and you'd partake in research for the lab. So I went to the 3D 3A lab, which stands for 3D Audio and Applied Acoustics at Princeton. And here I helped conduct research on what was their current project, which was a beamforming soundbar. Pretty much to summarize that, it's a soundbar. It's about this big, like 3 feet wide, but you could have three people sitting in front of it, all in the same space, and each person could listen to a different track. But the best thing of all was that you wouldn't hear what the person next to you was listening to, and you could walk around in real time, and it would be perfect. So you would think there's only one thing playing, when in reality it was three. Um, this is pretty much where I learned all the fundamentals of acoustics and very, 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 very basic speaker design. And this is pretty much where the journey down the rabbit hole began. So here's a photo of me at the first papers that the lab had published on what is called an HRTF, which is the head-related transfer function. This is pretty much each person has their own, and it's pretty much a summation of how you hear individual to you. This right here was the sound bar that we were working on. So as you guys see, the way it's demoed, there are two speakers on the left and the right. And every time we would play this, you would imagine that the sound is coming from that, when in reality, it was coming from that bar in the middle. And it sounded as wide as possible, even though this thing was only about 3 feet wide. Um, Now, this right here is a super, super important photo. This is my Chesky Audio Mark I. Now, this was the first speaker I ever created. I learned all the basics of it at the lab. But the thing that's very unique about this speaker, it was the first speaker to use my 3D printed cabinet, which is a new kind of speaker cabinet that I developed. And the entire basis of my company is based around the what I call the Chesky Audio Mark I. And this right here is the 3D printer used to print that. So the process from going from a prototype all the way to a final product. After I developed what I called the Chesky Audio Mark I at the Princeton lab, I knew that this was something that I wanted to do and excel at. I like to say there's a feeling of designing a speaker and turning it on for the first time and being in that presence of that thing that you just created. Um, once I got back to my home in New York, I got right to work learning and building prototype after prototype, each one getting better and better. I believed, I believe around 26 prototypes versus what is now the LC1 bookshelf monitor, which is our first speaker. Um, One thing about prototyping is accepting the fact that it's not really going to work out always the first time. As I'm sure for a lot of the students here, you guys know that to really perfect something, it's going to take a lot of trial and error. Um, Most importantly, pushing for perfection. Sure, maybe I could have settled for Mark 23, but instead of what is now the LC1, trying to squeeze that last 2% can really make the difference between a great product, a good product, and a great one. Um, Another big thing with developing any kind of product is funding research and development. Now, this is something that can be very pricey depending on what you're doing. So I kind of wanted to break down what my process was for someone who was in high school at the time with not a lot of money. The way I went around it was I had a prior job. I was hired at a ski shop, and I had taken everything that I had saved up, and it was just enough to buy 4 pairs worth of parts for 4 pairs of LC1s. And those 4 pairs are really what set the foundation for the funding of the company. We went to the first audio show, the Capital Audio Fest, in November of 2024. Those 4 pairs were sold along with various other ones that we listed on the website. So that was kind of my get around to not having a large initial capital to start the company. This right here is I believe to be the Chesky Audio Mark III. So this is the first concept of the LC1. This here are the Mark IVs, the speakers here on the left and the right. And we had put these in a little studio that we had. to test how accurate they would be in comparison to other monitors for doing mixes. And this is a close-up of that. So, moving on to the LC1. My first production speaker is the LC1, and what's really, really unique about this speaker is it uses what's called a 3D printed monocoque design for the cabinet. To really explain what that is, if you look at any speakers that you might have, um, most of the time it's a bunch of panels, and especially at the price point that the LC1 is, which is $996 for the pair, it gets really, really hard to make a very controlled environment just using those panels. Not to mention, manufacturing that gets pretty complicated along with risk. The majority of the materials that are used for these cabinets are fiber boards or MDF, which all need to be cut with saws. And the advantage of using a 3D printer, just in that aspect, is you won't lose any fingers. But the 3D printed monocoque design allows us to have a precision designed cabinet, so all of the dimensions on the inside don't necessarily have to match the outside, allowing us to negate standing waves and a bunch of other modes that you can have in your traditional speaker cabinet. On top of that, it uses a first order crossover network. And for those of you that don't know what a crossover is, it's the electronics inside the speaker, which are going to tell the speaker signal which drivers to go to. I learned this in many of my designs on why a tweeter shouldn't play below 1 kilohertz because they will blow up. The LC1 uses a polypropylene cone mid-bass driver along with the silk dome tweeter. Choosing the drivers that you use will take a lot of time as well, being able to listen to each one and seeing all of the different characteristics of it. At the end of the day, it's like cooking a nice meal. You want to put everything in that will really add to the signature of the sound of that speaker. Where are we? It has a nominal impedance of 8 ohms and does not dip from there, making sure that it is a relatively easy load to drive for most high-end amplifiers. The LC1 design also allows for extreme precision imaging, along with extraordinarily large sound stages. Now, the reason for this is because in the time domain, we have a very, very, very good response. What this means is that the time that it's going to take for the tweeter and the woofer to reach your ear is very, very similar, allowing imaging to be very, very coherent along with a very large soundstage to be able to be produced. On top of that, as we'll see in the next photos, the two drivers of the LC1 are very, very close together, allowing for the acoustic centers of those drivers to be very, very aligned, on top of there not being a lot of surface area for sound to reflect off of. Like I had mentioned before, most cabinets are made out of fiber boards and MDFs. These materials are just antiquated, but they had become the industry standard. With 3D printing a cabinet, I'm now able to get an increased density along with being able to have fully custom precision calculated interiors. You want your speaker cabinet to either be extremely dense or have no cabinet at all. And the advantage of the 3D is that we're able to control that density really, really well. So our cabinet is actually significantly denser than MDF, which is pretty much the standard material now. Um, the other big thing that 3D printing allows is not only for just R&D, it allows us to get a much more inexpensive cabinet without compromising the acoustics of it. So we can deliver a better product for the customer at an even better price. So this right here are the very first images of the LC1. As you can see here, we have the silk dome tweeter and the polypropylene mid-bass driver, and they're really, really sandwiched together, allowing for that really, really precise imaging. This was the 4 pairs that I had mentioned I had made for the Capital Audio Fest, and there's me next to them. And this right here was the very first setup of where I debuted the LC1s. So this here is in the Capital Audio Fest. It's in Rockville, Maryland. And pretty much what an audio show is for any of you guys who have never been to one. It's a big convention, and they rent out a hotel, and each vendor gets their own hotel room, and you get to set up your speakers and play them for whoever gets to attend the show. And that way, people are able to experience really, really high-end sound without having to buy it first. So it gives the customer a way to try it out before they go ahead with the purchase. So here are some photos from that. And this right here was the first ever sale of the LC1. I still stay in touch with these customers, and they're very, very pleased with their speakers. So, what's the next step? After the launch of the LC1 at the Capitol Audio Fest, it became a huge hit. I had left the show with two awards, both being Best in Show from two different audio review companies. This was really funny because I had gone to the first audio show to kind of get my feet wet to see what people thought of the speaker, to see if this is something that could go in a good direction, to get feedback, and then it ended up blowing up. It was a huge success at the show. So I knew I had to get to work, and I did. I had gotten a huge influx of orders, and because these were all built by me at the time, I had to figure out a way to ramp up production. It was funny. I remember we had gone from one 3D printer in my bedroom to four within a week. I had also converted my living room into a speaker manufacturing station. My mom was proud, but she definitely wanted her living room back. Um, and show after show, the LC1 started to get a lot more press and attention. By the end of the audio show season, I had traveled almost all over the world displaying the speaker for people to hear and to buy. But I knew that I needed to have a successor to the LC1, something to take the industry to the next step. This right here is the photo of what my room looked like at the time. So I had four Bamboo Lab P1S printers, and these would run non-stop. In the middle here, we have all of the rolls of filament along with the internal cabling of it. So this was just an idea of kind of how you can go from starting from your bedroom all the way to where it is today. So this was my speaker building station. So this was in our living room. And I would just sit here after school, day after day, and build up all of the speakers all by hand. So moving on to the latest and greatest, this is the LC2 reference monitor. So for all of you guys sitting over there in the studio, these are the two speakers that are in front of you. The speaker came out in November and truly expands off what the LC1 is. It uses the same type of 3D printed monocoque cabinet. However, now it uses a 5/8 inch thick aircraft grade 6061 aluminum baffle. That's a mouthful to say, but pretty much what this is going to allow us to do is not only improve the cosmetics, at least in my opinion, but also significantly improve sound in the sound quality as well. This is because the aluminum is extremely stiff and allows the drivers to transfer less energy into the cabinet and more into the cones. That way, the cabinet also resonates a lot less, overall improving the response of your speaker. On top of that, we have all new drivers. If you guys are seeing, we have a 7-inch tri-laminate cone mid-bass driver, which pretty much means it's three different materials making up that cone, which is paper, Kevlar, and fiberglass, along with a silk dome tweeter around the same size as the LC1, but now we have dual chambers behind that to help with compression. Um, on top of that, we have a fully new precision-based crossover that I designed to really give a very, very linear response, and everything is still built here in the USA. So here is the LC1 for all of you to see. Now, this photo was the very, very first excuse me, this is the LC2. This is the first LC2 ever made. This didn't have the aluminum baffle yet. We still had a different driver at the time, and it's next to its little brother, the LC1. And this is me at the factory now with the first ever metal LC2. As you guys can see there, you can still see the machining marks on it. So this was the very, very first model of it. Now, the biggest intricacies that I kind of ran into, or the biggest challenges I should say, is in the manufacturing process. Um, Becoming a loudspeaker manufacturer is nothing short of easy, but I've learned a significant amount. It's one thing to have a boutique company producing one to two speakers versus trying to grow a company to be the next JBL. So production was always something that I ran into in terms of problems, and I really got to learn how to scale and jump over those hurdles. Um, Producing an actual product comes with many more challenges than one might think. A huge one is refining the build process. Building the speaker yourself, you'd think that you would know all the ins and outs, but the second you go to transfer that skill to somebody else to build, you realize that there are a lot of things that you could be missing or skipping over. Where to get all of your parts, let alone for a good price, along with managing a full factory. In May of 2025, I moved into what is now the Chesky Audio Factory. Here, I sublet around 1,000 square feet of space from a company called VPI. Now, VPI makes turntables, and this turned into a full manufacturing line for the LC1 and the LC2. This has taught me an incredible amount, and I've gone from, even in just a year, through many ups and downs with this manufacturing process, and I'm still learning a lot. One of the biggest challenges I like to tell people that I went through was actually last year when the tariffs came in. Um, Under our administration, we had a significant tariff placed on China for imported goods, and the price of audio consumer electronics went from, I think it was at 50 and went to 159% tariff. And the biggest problem that I had with this is that we had a significant amount of orders at the time, and pretty much what happened was the port of Shenzhen, which is where all of the electronic parts come out of, shut down. Now, this was a really, really, really challenging moment for me, but I got to learn a lot and kind of navigate through working with overseas manufacturers along with finding the best ways to get products into the US. So this right here is the Chesky Audio Factory. So this is our workstation here. This is four of our printers that print the LC1s. If you look over to the left here, you see all of our cabinets. We have black, brown, and red. And we have LC2 stuff. I think they're hidden behind this shelving here. This was when I first started moving everything in, training up the crew to be able to build up the LC1s. Now, this was something that was a lot more challenging than I thought. And I think that's because when you design and build your own product, you have such a way of doing it that you would expect a lot of people to know or to build things in a certain way when you really need to explain every element of it. And here is a photo of me recently building the new LC2s. Over break, we got a huge influx of LC2 orders, but because you have to close the factory down for the winter, ever since I got back from CMU, I've been building up LC2s, and then I just stopped when I got back. So it was a pretty fun break. And this right here is the first shipment of LC2s that went out on a pallet. So this is to kind of show how you can go from printing in your bedroom to doing 4 pairs a month to sending out large shipments like this, all in the course of a year. And this right here is our final 3D printing farm. This is a little bit of an older picture. We have some more printers now, but the two printers on the bottom are the Bambu Lab H2S printers, and those are what cover our LC2 speakers. And then on the top, we have our Bambu Lab P1S printers, which cover our LC1s. So, what's next for Chesky Audio? Well, since Chesky Audio is a very, very young company, there are many places it could end up. My goal is to give people audio at an incredible value, pushing away from the high price tags of high-end audio. With our modern technologies, it's allowed us to do this. And for the future, I actually want to move more towards an active speaker direction. Something where you won't need an amp and a DAC and preamps and a bunch of other things to hear your music. I would also like to go down in price. While $2,000 is very entry level for hi-fi, I know as a college student, and I'm sure any of you guys sitting in the studio over there, that's still a lot of money to dish out on gear. So being able to lower the cost while maintaining the quality is something that really means a lot to me because I don't want that to be the factor which keeps people away from great audio and most importantly, enjoying the music and hearing it as it should be heard. So yeah, that wraps up my slides. Thank you so much for having me today. And if you guys have any questions, I guess this would be a good time.
This is Nick of Lacus. I have a question. Uh,
Yep.
how do you decide what properties you need on the cabinets, and how do you achieve them with 3D printing?
Absolutely. So the biggest advantage now with cabinet design is using computer automated design. So with modern CAD programs, I'm able to now see what modal frequencies will be active in the cabinet and where to manipulate the inside of the cabinet so that it will not have the standing waves or amplify or have or be able to control resonances. On top of that, the advantage of 3D as you might have a studio would be custom built, so the acoustics inside are perfect. With 3D, it allows us to do pretty much the same thing because our outer dimensions don't have to match the internal dimensions. So let's say the LC2, for example, the corners in the back are rounded to a specific amount. The walls are all not parallel, so we have no standing waves in there, along with a couple other acoustic treatments on the inside. And this showed great in our resonance measurements, which we placed an accelerometer on different portions of the speaker to measure resonances, and we're able to control it from there.
Do you do trial and error, or can you actually calculate material properties in all directions?
We've been able to calculate it, yes, with all with computer automated design.
Hmm, that's interesting.
Are there more questions in the chat window?
Mr. Stern?
Yeah, I have one. Sorry. Um, Zoom changed its configuration. I can't find the place where you hit for raising hands. First, Luca, congratulations. I'm very, very, very impressed.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to talk when you came in the fall. I'll be returning to Pittsburgh late March, early April, and looking forward to seeing you then. I have a ton of questions, but I'm
Mhm.
in the interest of not monopolizing the session, I'm just going to ask a few. One of them is that you mentioned that you selected your drivers very carefully, which of course makes a ton of sense. But once you did that, how much variability did you observe in the individual drivers that you got from whoever your supplier was? And how much of a factor has that been?
So we actually have lucked out with that. We measure every single driver that we get to make sure that everything matches within our speakers. This is something I've learned as we've moved from manufacturer to manufacturer, is that even though you could buy 10 different speaker drivers of the exact same spec, they could all have slightly different responses. So we try to, in our factory, we measure all of the individual drivers that we have and we match them. So we have matched pairs. Um, so yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I can imagine of all that, that's the component over which you have the least amount of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So,
definitely been a yeah.
when you first stated that you were going to do the the enclosure using 3D printed, is like a light went off my head. I said, geez, that makes a ton of sense. Um, but then later on, I think you showed something that had a metal enclosure. Uh, what what was that all about?
Yeah, so the LC1 and the LC2 have the same kind of monocoque construction. So it's one giant 3D printed piece. But the LC2 now has a metal faceplate on top of that 3D printed cabinet that gets bolted to the front. It's sandwiched between a piece of sorbethane rubber to prevent vibrations, and it's bolted in the back in a figure 8 pattern.
Okay,
So
yeah, I didn't
that
realize that it was just a plate that you're putting on top. It seemed to me that, geez, metal is the farthest thing that you're going to get from not moving when you have something like a loudspeaker inside.
yeah.
Um, Last thing I'll ask for now was when I was your age, and we all hate that when people say that kind of stuff. Um, Everybody had a stereo of some sort, a system in their dorm room, and everybody listened to sound over loudspeakers. Nowadays, I asked a friend of mine at Bose Corp not too long ago what fraction of their output is speakers versus headphones or things you actually stick in your ear or something else. And the speakers are way down. Um, uh, what 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 do you see as the future of that trend? And I'm sure you'd like
Yeah,
to reverse that.
absolutely. That's really been the I guess the number one problem in the industry is what happened to having loudspeakers in your home. You know, it used to be this thing, like you mentioned, everybody would have a stereo system here. And over the years, especially recently, it's really, really died down. Um, but the what I believe is the main cause of that is two things. One is price. As high-end audio has grown as an industry and a hobby, it's become extraordinarily expensive. Like if you were to go to one of these high-end audio shows, the average price of a room, so that would be the summation of all of the gear that's being used, is somewhere close to $250,000, which is a lot of money, especially to put on a speaker system. So I feel that the focus of the industry has kind of shifted with that, prioritizing the really, really, really expensive stuff, which don't get me wrong, sounds great and it is really, really nice to listen to. But let's be real, at the end of the day, it's it's very, very inaccessible. So I think prioritizing a shift to accessible gear and um, being able to have um, quality equipment that is going to be able to deliver really, really high sound, a high quality sound, excuse me, at a more affordable price point, I think is really going to be the main factor. Now, the other thing is I like to say marketing, but is really awareness of this. Um, I find that it's really kind of niched down, and so I really think that uh, a lot of people are just unaware of it. I have my pair of LC1s here in my dorm in the Donner house, and I invite everybody over to hear them, and everybody is blown away. So it's not something that people dislike. It's something that everybody really enjoys, but they're just not aware of it. So that's kind of what I
I'm
would
sure
imagine the future would be.
I'm sure part of the problem is exactly what you say. The lack of super high quality audio at a decent price point. Um, I also hate to say it, but I think we've really gotten a lot more restless over the decades. People like to have audio everywhere all the time. You like to be able to listen to your Bluetooth headphones regardless of where you go. And the fact that MP3 is as popular as it is suggests that people are willing to sacrifice a little bit of quality in exchange for convenience or bit rate reduction, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so I look forward to seeing you, after I get back. And if you want to chat over Zoom about, I'm curious to hear how your transfer into ECE is going, and we could compare notes on that.
Definitely.
I'll
Yeah.
send you a
Thank
note.
you.
Right. Thanks again for the talk.
Of course. All right, let's look at the chat. Um, where is it? Here. Where do we get the drivers? So we have a proprietary manufacturer in China that supplies us with our tweeters, our mid-bass drivers, and our sub-bass radiators on the side of the speakers. That was one thing I forgot to mention was the LC1 and the LC2 are not ported speakers. They're fully sealed enclosures with two passive radiators in a push-push configuration. And the reason why I chose to do that opposed to your traditional port um, is because it allows the mid-bass driver to load and couple better in the speaker, along with also getting a much more open sound I've found in my studies. What else? What is the purpose of the little diamonds on the faceplate? Yeah. So as you guys can see in the studio or from some of the images I had, there are little diamond facets all around the tweeter. Now that serves two purposes. It's cosmetic and it's functional. Um, Pretty much it allows for the tweeter high frequency waves to be broken up um, right as it leaves the dome, along with also standing out in terms of its cosmetics. What is next? Why are you transferring to ECE instead of music and tech? Um, this is a good question. This is something I've thought about for a while, but personally, I find that ECE is just a little bit more in line with what I want to do. And right now, I'm doing all ECE classes, and I'm having a really really good time in that process. How's the business of this side going? How much time did it take to break even? Yeah, so it the business side of things are going really, really well. It actually didn't take that long to break even because of that strategy that I had imposed with putting a very small initial investment um, of only four speakers, which was under $1,000. And by opening the website when I had launched the company November of last year, not 2025, but 24, um, it allowed for us to take in more orders to pretty much use the money that people had sent in to scale each time that we bought a new batch of parts. Um, but it's been going pretty well. It's been scaling extraordinarily fast. It's definitely a lot to manage with college, let alone the workload of CMU. But nevertheless, it's been going really well. Do you make a near field studio speaker? Yeah, so the LC1s and the LC2s are actually really, really versatile in terms of their placements. As we have them in the studio right now, they're in more or less a pretty near field configuration, but the LC2 and the LC1 can both be in very, very, very large spaces. Our room that we test them back in New York, um, how can you get to 80 degrees? Um, the room that we originally have them being displayed is around 20 by 30 by 20, and they fill them up extraordinarily well. So it's really versatile on where you can place them. Like I had mentioned before, I have my LC1s on some little stands on my desk in my dorm, and it sounds incredible. How can you manage EE degree at CMU and run a business? It's hard for sure. It's definitely a lot of work, but as I'm sure a lot of the students here know, you just have to know how to manage your time extraordinarily well. And doing a little bit every single day allows for it to be manageable. I'm very, very fortunate. We have a great crew at the factory, so we have five people there full time, and pretty much they're taking care now of production and logistics at the factory. So on my part, I'm able to focus more so on new designs, marketing, and expanding the company.
Where's the factory?
The factory's in Matawan, New Jersey. So it's like 45 minutes to an hour out of New York.
New York City.
Yeah, cool.
Very
Any other questions?
impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Everything's impressive.
Yeah.
Trying to think what
Any
I was
other-
doing when I was your age. Wasn't
Awesome.
that?
Hmm?
No, congratulations. It wasn't
Thank
with
you.
everyone.
Any other questions?
So I just want to point out a few things. First of all, I'm very excited to be sitting right in front of these speakers right now. And when we tested them earlier today, or listened to them again, I was amazed at the imaging of these speakers because, most of my recording is two microphones. That's my first rule of recording, never use more than two microphones. And we did listen to some stuff that I recorded with two microphones, and the imaging is just fantastic. What I noticed most of all was the center image, because it sounds like there are actually three speakers in front of me, one on the left, one on the right, and one in the center. And I think that's a very good test to see how imaging works. So congratulations on that, Lucca.
Thank you.
So Luca, what software are you using to design your drivers?
So the drivers we have an engineering team over in China that helps pretty much cover all of that. I kind of say within the parameters of what I need them to, and they will help actually do the engineering behind that. Our mid-bass driver, though, for the LC2 is we actually build half of that at our factory over in Mattawan. So they send us the basket with the cone installed, and we add some last minute tweaks to it.
Are there any
Luca,
other
you have one more question.
Let's see.
Is Jeffrey Chesky your dad?
Jeffrey Chesky is my uncle.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, another thing that's really nice about using 3D printing for the inside, the same kind of tessellation, which is that pattern on the outside, is also on the inside of the cabinet. And this helped a lot with navigating standing waves, as we would see in our on our measurements, we could monitor in the cabinet to see what needed to be broken up. Yeah.
So are there any other questions? So Luke, I wonder if you could just say a word or two about the background of music and audio that you grew up with before you even had the idea of building a speaker.
Yeah. Like I had mentioned, I grew up in a very musical household. I heard live music every day with, if it wasn't from, I also have a twin sister who's a singer. So it's definitely been a very, very musical home. And pretty much ever since I think I started playing piano when I was probably 3 years old. And I still play till this day. And then as I grew up, I picked up drums and guitar as well. So I've been playing music for a very, very, very long time. And like I had mentioned, that was really, really crucial because I think that you know, there are a lot of speakers out there that on paper you look at it and it should be perfect. But I think having that quality of a trained ear and sitting down and saying, wait, that's not what a piano's supposed to sound like, was the biggest portion of my design, and has really really helped tweak whether it was crossover design or cabinet design, and really really tweaking my response for the speaker to have as much of a natural sound as possible, which is what I believe to be um, the best thing for a speaker to be. So it could be extremely natural and for it to pretty much disappear the second you start playing music through it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that philosophy. So I'd like to hear just from someone who's still online now to ask about listening in person to speakers as opposed to headphones. Has anyone been bitten by the speaker bug and saying, I don't think I like headphones that much anymore?
I laugh at my kids because, when I left for college many moons ago, like Rich was saying, I had my speakers that I built in wood shop in ninth grade, and my whole component stereo system and all my albums and my books and all that stuff. And when my kids go to college, they have all their books and stuff are on their phone, all their music's on their phone. They have a Bluetooth speaker and earbuds, and all they bring are clothes, and their phone and a Bluetooth speaker. And I'm hauling like a carload full of stuff into my dorm room back then too, right? So, I mean, I assume, now of course we had to be very creative in our dorm rooms to set them up to allow us to have speakers and albums and things like that. Our beds were all propped up on, dressers or on whatever, so we could put stuff under them and whatever. And I know, you probably, since you actually have speakers in your dorm room, I don't know what you're using to drive them with as far as a stereo, but you probably have had to get a little bit creative with some of your space as well. It's much easier in those tiny Morewood or Donner rooms or whatever to just have a Bluetooth speaker and and your phone.
Yeah, definitely. It was funny because well, the system breakdown. So they're two LC1s. They're being driven by a shit audio Agir amp. No, not an Agir, a Vidar amplifier. And for anyone wondering, yes, that's the name of the company. It's called Shit Audio, SCHIT. And they make really nice stuff. And it's being driven by their Jotunheim preamp DAC as well. And it fits all under my desk pretty nicely. And it's nice because the amp gets pretty hot. So in the cold times like today, it warms my room up nicely. So
Is it an analog power amp or is it a Class D
it's analog, yeah, it's
analog? Okay,
Class
good.
A.
Yeah.
So in the studio now,
So yeah.
when we're ready to demonstrate these speakers, we have two monoblock benchmark amplifiers, and they sure sound good.
Yeah, so I guess just to give a breakdown for everybody online as well, in the studio we're pretty lucky to use Benchmark Media Systems individual monoblock amplifiers along with their DAC 3 digital DAC. And I figured what better amp to use for a presentation at a school like Carnegie Mellon because Benchmark believes in a pure scientific approach to it. They have the lowest total harmonic distortion measurements out of any amplifier that you can find on the market, along with one of the best DACs that I think I've ever heard. So, yeah, it's some pretty revealing stuff, and at the end of the day, I use it as a scientific tool as well when I'm doing my designs because I want to be able to listen to exactly what the speaker is giving me and not what the amp or the preamp or the DAC is. So it's a pretty nice combination. So we have them running in mono right now.
So Luca, I know that you mentioned that you have sort of listening sessions in your dorm room. And I just wonder, have they attracted the attention, maybe unwelcome attention to anyone who says, you can't do this after 2 a.m.?
I haven't had any bad attention yet. But yeah, sometimes I will have a bunch of people over. And we'll pretty much just go through a bunch of tracks, and it's a really nice experience because a lot of the times I'll put on songs that a lot of my friends have listened to before, and they will sit down and say, I didn't even think it could sound like this, or there were elements of that song that I didn't even know were there, which really goes to show the what I would believe to be the importance of having a great sound system and that you can truly achieve phenomenal sound for a pretty reasonable price, even if it's something that's cheaper than the LC ones, that it's out there and it can be achieved. So yeah.
My
Okay.
RAs were not quite as nice.
Yeah, my RA has been pretty great about it. He's actually sitting in the room over there. But yeah, he hasn't he's been pretty good about me playing my music loud, so
Okay, any other questions? All right, so now I'd like to invite anyone who's on campus or nearby to come to the Lahakis Recording Studio. We're going to do a little demonstration of these speakers. So Luca, thank you very much for being here today. And so we're going to stop recording. We're going to leave the link on so that we'll still more or less see who's in here and hear something coming through as the speakers are playing. So everybody come on over.